Jesus.
Oh, that's just a little turbulent. Why are you so nervous, love?
I don't know. I didn't sleep well last night.
Oh, it's been a while since you...
It's nothing. I'll be fine. Just make sure that cargo's secure.
Everything looks fine back here. Things are shifting a little, but...
Damn it!
All right, that was quite a belt. Let's get our minds on something else. You ever still think about Ireland?
It's 30 years since I've been there, Leonor. I don't remember anything.
Don't be daft. Tell me a story about when you were a little boy.
All right. Did I ever tell you about the time I stole a box of sweets?
No, you haven't.
I was maybe 7 or 8. I was at the corner store with me dad. He gave me enough money for 1 box. But I thought, wouldn't it be grand to get the box for him instead?
Oh, that's sweet.
Well, I'm not so sure. I think I'd done something at the time and was trying to make up for it. But as much as I wanted to give him the sweets, I still wanted some, you know. So I bought the one and pocketed the other.
Oh, no.
And just as soon as I paid the man, I turned around and saw me dad. Just staring at me.
Oh, no. Did he know what you done? Or did you get away with it?
Well, that's the thing. He... Shit!
Oh my God! Stanley!
Put your
Stanley,
seatbelt
look!
on!
The left engine's on fire!
No. Oh, Christ, this isn't good.
Stanley, what's happening?
We're going down, love, okay? I need you to hold on, get in the brace position.
No! Shit!
Leonor!
Stanley!
The plane. Leno. Where? Leonor, where are you, love? Up there, my plane. Fuck! Jesus Christ! No. Leonor! Leonor?
Stanley?
Leonor, yes, it's Stanley.
Stanley, are you there?
I can hear you, love. I'm here.
You must have picked up. Christ, I hope you can hear me.
Fucking mobile's broken. She can't hear me.
I'm still in the plane. Or part of the plane. My leg is trapped.
Christ.
I can't move. Stanley, I don't know where I am, but I can't see you, but there's smoke. There's black smoke, I see.
Lena, black smoke. She's still alive. Pull it together, Stanley. Do what needs to be done. Steam. This is good. Got to stay warm. manifest. We should have landed hours ago. They'll have to know we're missing. Send out a search party. Please, God. The manifest. So cold. Oh, so many islands. Even I'm not sure which one we're on. Shit! Bastards! It's too dark. If I get lost in there, I'll never get out. What is this?
I was afraid of this. I knew from the moment I saw Stanley clutching that tiny body in his arms that the nightmares would come back. They're worse than ever. I can feel Stanley's heart breaking with every shuddering breath. I heard him say, "Don't go." Is he talking to me? I'll never leave him.
There's the black smoke. Need to find a way to that peak. Oh God. Shelter. God, this torch still works. Hypothermia. Thanks for the warning. It's locked. Shit!
Molly and I were at Rory's pub when in walked Stanley Whittaker. I picked up my pint and walked over to meet him in the middle of the room. When he saw me coming, his eyes lit up with this big, beautiful, goofy smile. I threw him a drink in his face. Then I grabbed him by his collar and I told him to keep his big trap shut about my father. Stanley blinked away the beer and said he was only looking out for me because Mr. Fancy Shoes was just too good looking and that I should have a plain fella so everyone would notice the beautiful woman. He said I was luminous. Then he said people would also know that I'm brave. God knows why, but I laughed and I asked him, "Oh, why am I brave?" "Oh, you'd have to be," he said, "to be seen with a bloke like me." Well, the entire pub burst into laughter. And then Rory threw him a towel and Stanley caught it without taking his eyes off me. They were the bluest things I'd ever seen. The bastard. I can't wait to see him again.
As this icy stone closes in around me, I'm overwhelmed by a fear that the last 30 years together was only a dream. That I'm still trapped, still locked away in the dark. As I cross this godforsaken island to find you, every agonizing step reminds me that the dream is over. But the pain reminds me that I'm still alive. And as long as I live, there is hope. Leonore, I will find you. I will find you. Stunning. It's like a cathedral. Looks like a way out, but I can't climb this ice. they won't stay trapped in this cave. Leonor.
Stanley, I can see the lockbox. It's empty. The crasher must have broke open. All the case files, all the information. My diary. You have to find him. You have to find everything. If anyone comes, Stanley. If anyone comes, they can't find out who we are.
Bollocks. All this time, we've been so careful. Oh, what now? My God. No. Page from her journal.
Mother's crying in the next room. She says it's because she's happy, but I don't believe her. My father is getting out of prison. My friends protest the unlawful imprisonments, but I wish they'd kept Michael O'Shea locked up forever. Life in prison isn't long enough for him. It would kill my mother if she ever read this. What if Michael ever read it? Would it kill him? Or would he kill me? Well, the violence didn't stop when he was on the inside. But at least when I read about something terrible in the paper, I knew my father wasn't the cause. But now, God help us all. Stanley took me to this lovely old tree on the cliffs overlooking the sea. It was just the perfect spot. Then I saw there were notches carved into the trunk. I pointed them out to him and asked him how many other girls had he brought here. Stanley laughed and said when he was just a lad, he and his dad would come to the same spot for picnics, and Paddy would notch the tree to show how much Stanley had grown. I turned as red as a beetroot and muttered some kind of apology. When we sat down to eat lunch, I saw another notch at the base of the tree. When I asked him what that one was for, he winked and said, Margaret Kane.
If she knew I was reading her journal, she'd just... Don't even think it.
Thin ice. I've got to be careful.
The summers in Munich are beautiful. The palazzas are full of tourists, so Stanley and I blend right in. But even in the sea of anonymous faces, we have to be careful. Today, I was sitting in the park with my lunch when this young man with a big fancy camera came up to me. He was handsome and stylish, a real artsy type, and he asked if he could take some photos of me. Obviously, I had to say no. But then he said something that caught me off guard. He said that my eyes were the saddest he'd ever seen. Of course they are, I said. I'm Irish. I left everything on the bench and disappeared into the crowd. Mother begged me not to go, but I assured her it was a peaceful rally. Molly wouldn't go with me, she was afraid the army would show up. So I dragged Stanley with me. I thought for sure he'd want to be there, because his father was one of the speakers. Paddy Whitaker was an electrifying presence. People were cheering and clapping as he spoke about the end to the violence, a peaceful end to the troubles. He spoke with such conviction, I nearly wept. When I looked over at Stanley, he was wearing fucking headphones and messing with his cassette player. He said he'd heard it all before. I couldn't believe it. He has no idea how lucky he is.
First the shelter, now this lock. I've got to find a way through. believe it. Those numbers from the journal. This makes no sense. Still alive. Get warm. Got to get warm. Oh, this valve. Maybe. That's good. Oh, thank God.
I don't know what's wrong with that man. Stanley came into Rory's pub tonight, sweaty and out of breath. His eye was swollen, his lip was bleeding, and he looked as proud as a peacock. He and one of his no-good mates went messing into East Belfast to stir up trouble. Stanley had the brilliant idea to spray the Story Plough over a Unionist mural, but they got caught by some locals and they got into a scrap. Rory thought that was a gas and bought Stanley a pint. I told Stanley he was an idiot. What if he'd been caught by the guard or the UVF? They'd have bloody killed him. But he was just too proud of himself to listen. face hurts from trying to smile all night. I can't blame Stanley. There's no way he could have known. He's not that cruel. He knew I was named after Beethoven's opera and just assumed that I'd be a fan. But it was my father who loved the opera. He'd blast those records into the night and stagger about with a half-empty bottle, waving it in time with the music. It was terrifying. But I loved Stanley. So I gripped his hand and smiled through the entire performance.
Stanley, are you there? Oh, it's so cold. I can't stop shivering. My leg is going numb. At least it doesn't hurt anymore. I might have fallen asleep. Oh, I thought I heard voices. I don't remember what time it is. I think it'll be dark soon. But I don't think I'll make it through the night. Oh, Stanley, you've got to stay warm.
Oh, God. Hypothermia must be setting in.
Stanley can still surprise me, even after all this time. We drove out for a picnic at our tree by the ocean, but when we got there, Stanley pulled a guitar case out of the boot. I had no idea he played guitar. All afternoon we laid together, in the grass, under the tree, while Stanley strummed and plucked away. It was grand. Then he told me to close my eyes. I told him he better not have any funny ideas, but he said he tried learning a new song just for me. After a few bars, it started to sound familiar, but I couldn't stop myself from kissing him before he could finish the song. I'll let him finish it for me someday.
Is this another bunker? How many are there? Kidding me. Everything's frozen. And I'm running out of time.
Molly and I snuck out to a party tonight. It was in full swing by the time we got there, meaning all the boys were bollocksed. Well, not all. We weren't there long when this beautiful lad hands me a beer and said his name was Colin. I was tall with bright green eyes and he wore neon coloured runners. I asked him if it was his party. He shook his head and said that knew it was my party. Then he turned and waved his hand around like he was the great fucking Gatsby. And the first thing we saw was Stanley Whittaker throwing up in the kitchen sink. I laughed and said he could have his party back. Oh, we blathered for a while and we were really getting on when Stanley Whittaker stumbled over and asked Colin if he ever wore those shoes outside. And before I could tell him to fuck off, Stanley asked Colin if he knew I was the daughter of Michael O'Shea. I felt my legs go numb. Colin couldn't get away from me fast enough.
Oh, shit! Hail! Fuck! Fuck! Hail's too strong. I can't get through. This thing. Christ, I hope it's big enough to protect me. the door. It's working. Kiss my arse, fucking island. The black smoke. Nearly there. Oh no! Oh Christ, what now? Oh fuck! Help! Help me! No. No! I was right there. What do you want from me? Tell me what you want from me. Pull it together, Stanley. The sooner you find Leonore, the sooner you can get her off this fucking island. Just find her.